Okay. So welcome to day 4, session 4. And we're exploring the mandala offering today. Those of you who were here at session 2 will remember that Bhante talks about the mandala offering in terms of, if you owned everything, you couldn't think of anything better to do than to offer it all to the 3 jewels. And in session 3, I just did a little demonstration of a traditional mandala offering and a traditional offering, mandala offering mudra. And as with the 8 offerings, if you want, you're very welcome to incorporate a mandala offering just into your sadhana. And you don't necessarily have to take on the mandala offering practice and do whole sessions of it. But it would be a very good thing to do after you've visualized the yidam and before you receive any adhisthana or anything like that, to just offer whatever is valuable, whatever's beautiful, whatever comes to mind. And you can make that as extensive as you like. And it's a really enriching aspect of the practice, and it builds a really good positive energy to things. And then you can carry on, sort of, if the visualization is an in-front one, you can then go on to receiving the mantra and the adhisthana and so on. For any particular sadhana, we could probably find a place where it would go very well. But feel free to include it. And the offerings can be as extensive as you like, because apart from anything else, you're developing a flexibility of mind. It's like if you offer a flower, say, that's lovely. But then if you offer endless flowers in all directions, it's as if mind has to really open, and it kind of challenges, challenges your ability to feel and see these things. And it can feel like your heart mind has really gone kind of panoramic and sort of full wide screen. And the capacity to do that is a very helpful one for our development as Dharma practitioners. So at the end of session 2, Dayapana asked me a question which prompted me to remember a question a bit earlier in the retreat. Yes, I want to say that, I'm getting quite a lot of questions, and actually more than questions now. Some people are writing me kind of, quite personal accounts about things that are going on, and really appreciating receiving all those. So thank you very much indeed. Some of them it will take me a little while to get around to responding to. And if the questions keep coming in faster than I can answer them, then it may even be after the retreat that you get a response, but you will get a response. And 1 or 2 people have also been sending me things that I think would be really good on the webpage, on the resources page. It's almost like we could do with a section of it where people, as well as me putting up resources, other people could share things. So I'll see if I can arrange that with text so that, if you feel like something sparked off by the sessions and the retreat, and you think, that would be really interesting for people, then we get the full, or at least more of the kind of group wisdom and experience, rather than just me. Talking of which, I did put up a link to a website with a recent kind of paper which was reviewing recent scientific research about generosity. So you've got that on the resources now as well. So, all right, all that was sparked off by saying that I was going to answer a question, and it's actually a question that came up a couple of days ago, at least, when I was talking about Tonglen. So the question goes like this. I found massive resistance this morning to imagining giving material goods to someone and then feeling good about this. My resistance seems to be centered around the view that I'm deluding myself if I feel good about giving something to someone if I haven't actually given the gift. Suppose I imagine feeling good about feeding a starving child. Okay, I can imagine that feeding a starving child does feel good, but imagination doesn't put food into the child's tummy. At the end of the meditation, the child is still starving. I've made no material difference to the child, but I'm trying to feel good about pretending I have. This simply doesn't work for me. What am I missing? And the questioner goes on to say that they're all right with the other aspects of giving. It's the material thing that they're tripping over and having difficulty with. So I'd like to unpack that a little bit, and we'll see. We may have to unpack it. We may have to go quite deep to fully unpack it. We'll see. But my opening offer in response to this is that the Tonglen comes from the mind training tradition, and mind training is principally a mind training. So in doing the practice, what we're fundamentally doing is transforming our responses to things. We're moving from a more self-referential way in which mind is functioning to a freer, more open, more expansive way of mind functioning. And that has value for us on the path to awakening. But it also does mean that when we do the practice, at the end, when we get up, that's had an effect on our mind. So no, we haven't fed any starving children in Ethiopia or wherever, but we're more likely to respond to that suffering in the everyday world because we've been working with our mind in this way. So we're not saying it's enough, just to sit in some ivory tower and meditate and, wish all the poverty in the world away and that will do it. We're not saying that, but we are saying that in a way that there is poverty in the world because people's minds are not sufficiently open and their hearts aren't sufficiently generous that it's come to an end yet. There is actually much less poverty in the world than there used to be, but that's not important at this point. So I don't think it's that we're trying to feel good about pretending. It's more as if we're acting as if, and that has an effect on our mind. Or maybe we could say we're mentally rehearsing. How about that? Yeah. So we're mentally rehearsing ways of being that are more satisfying, more open-hearted. We're giving becomes increasingly a natural and spontaneous thing to do. I don't want to just say that the meditation is a sort of rehearsal for everyday life, because meditation is already experience, if you see what I mean. It's like in a culture which is very materialist based, it's very easy to devalue the imagination. It's very easy to devalue the inner, as it were, in inverted commas, subjective aspect of experience. Yeah. So I want to give full weight to that experience that happens in meditation. But yes, one of the benefits of the meditation is that it's preparing us to act in really helpful, skillful ways when we come out of the meditation. So I don't see it as pretending, and it's not just that we're doing something that's not real and then trying to feel good about ourselves. In a way, it isn't really about ourselves. The happiness comes from the Tonglen, in a way, taking us out of ourselves and out of that sort of self-referential framework, which is actually a prison. So yes, there's happiness as a result of doing the practice, but it's not the happiness of, didn't I do that well? Hey, that's not going in the right direction, really. Although if it's there, okay, we just treat it with kindness and let it go. So that's my sort of initial offer in answer to that question. Is there anybody want to take it further or clarify it or ask more?
Sort of do, but
Hello? Somebody wanting to ask something? It's like there's somebody trying to ask something, but you're on mute.
It involves imagination. So someone says they're pretending, or they feel that they're being false. Maybe what's needed is really thinking, really imagining. It's not false, or pretending necessarily. Can be. So there's a sense of that quality of imagination, because we do it all the time in a positive way. But there's also, besides imagination, there's hopefully, if you start acting more kindly or more giving, you might influence others. So I think that's important. What you really want to do is get a lot of people, starting to act more that way. And that would change the world, basically, if you really, do it in groups. And, like in our Sangha, what we really do is show the best to each other. Mm-hmm. It's not pretending, it's not fake. We feel like that because we're receiving kindness from others and friendliness. So we start returning it to them. Yep.
Yeah. Yes, one of the things I was sent today was a little kind of video of people paying things forward, so one person helping somebody in a small way, which meant that their heart opened a little bit and then they helped somebody else and it carried on. Bhante talked about this in a seminar called The Duties of Brotherhood in Islam, in which there's a story in there about, which I've told somewhere recently, but I don't think it's been on this retreat. Stop me if you've heard it. Yeah, there's a group of Sufi brothers, and one of them is given a sheep's head, which is a fantastic delicacy, you know, a sheep's head, something that you'd really love to tuck into and eat. But he thinks, no, yeah, I would really enjoy this. But my friend, my brother, I'd really love him to have it. So he gives away the sheep's head to his friend. Yeah. 2 days later, another of his friends, his brothers, turns up with a sheep's head, saying, I've just been given this, but I'd really love you to have it. And it turns out it's the same sheep's head, and it's gone around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people and arrived back with him. Now, yeah, and Bhante kind of, you know, unpacks that as, never mind the sheep's head, but that sort of sharing, just going round and round, you know, everyone preferring that somebody else would have it, everybody wanting to sort of pass on the enjoyment, pass on the pleasure, pass on this great thing. So in big and small ways, yes, we don't pass sheep's heads around our Sangha, thankfully, but yeah, giving the sparks, giving an open-heartedness, sparks open-heartedness, and sort of like waves of that sort of can radiate out. You know, so, but I think there's something about imagination that, yeah, in our society, because we're so, you know, kind of materialist in tendency as a society, imagination starts to then become what's not really real, yeah, and we don't appreciate how real the effects of imagination are, and we don't actually appreciate how everything we do is interwoven with imagination. And if you go deeper into things, if you go into exploration of mind, we tend not to appreciate that all we have is our experience, which is always mentally produced, which involves what we can call imagination. So we tend to live in a world where we take for granted. I suppose we live in the Kamaloka. We live in the world of the 5 senses, which we then interpret in quite a low-level way, really, from a Dharma point of view. You know, there are substantial things which are out there, which really exist, which we can rely on, and so on. And all that conceptualization sort of forms a kind of barrier to us really putting much weight on what happens in imagination. And so, yeah, which is how we end up with, you know, phrases in English like, oh, it was just your imagination. Yeah, it's, yeah, so it all everything becomes referred to the physical world. But actually, we never actually experience directly the physical world. All we ever experience is our experience. All we ever experience is mind. Yeah. So there's what I interpret as a microphone out there in front of me. You know, and I think, well, that's a material object. But I don't know anything about it in itself. I don't actually know if there is any material object out there. I have no way of proving it. I cannot prove that I've ever experienced a material object in my, that there's actually been a material object in my entire life. All I've had has been my experience through the five senses, which I've then worked up mentally to produce an image, which is happening within mind. And I then kind of interpret that as that's a microphone out there, it's a physical object, and so on. So, yes, we can answer that initial question just in terms of, we're more mentally rehearsing and so on, and yes, it prepares us to act. But very often, I'm not saying anything about this particular questioner, but very often those issues that come up with Tonglen or with sadhana are all because we're trying to do a Dharma practice within a framework that's very limited and conceptual. And of course, we bump into difficulties. Rather than seeing that all those concepts are helpful descriptions that we're just applying to our experience. So it's helpful to think in terms of a microphone out there. But all those concepts of there it is, it exists, it's out there, I can rely on it, there's one microphone, not many microphones, and so on. They're all ideas. They're all ideas. So it's also really good when we do move into the imaginative world, the imaginal world, and spend time there. And some of the things that happen in that world are kind of defying the laws of physics, and they're just operating in different ways. It's like part of what we're trying to do is take mind out of the conceptual framework that it's taking for granted, so that we can use that when it's useful, but we know it's just a conceptual framework. So when we can kind of multiply things to infinity, multiply offerings indefinitely, or we can have, endless offerings just appearing, and so on. All these things, they're part of what they're doing is they're making mind so flexible that it kind of bursts out of a very limited worldview based on the Kamaloka. And often when we do imaginative practices such as sadhana, they don't really, we feel like, they're not really working because we don't give them their full weight. We don't kind of believe in them because they're not solid and tangible and you can't eat them. But the more energy we put into, say, imagining a yidam figure, the more impact it starts to have on our life, the more power it gathers. So if I'm sitting visualizing Tara in front of me, but there's this little voice going, well, yes, but it's not real, and you're just imagining it, then unsurprisingly, there isn't much effect. But actually, even if I just act as if, and I put more energy into it, day after day after day, it's like, after a while, it's like it becomes, whatever's going on, it doesn't feel like me creating anything anymore. It feels as if I'm in contact with qualities, and I'm in contact with energy, yeah, that has as much impact as something in the external world. So I don't know how helpful or otherwise all this is, but it's just trying to sort of shake the bars a bit of our kind of conceptual cages. And we can do that by questioning, is this a concept that I'm putting on my experience, or is this experience itself? But we can also almost like dissolve away some of the bars by going and roaming in realms of experience which affect us deeply, but are realms of imagination and realms of the heart-mind, that are really expansive and open and free and beautiful. And something like the mandala offering is one way to do that. Any thoughts or questions following on from?
Can I ask something?
Sure you can, Mandy.
What I'm kind of hearing you saying is that if we're in that sort of situation, faith may help us get through. The trust that actually, if we keep going, keep trying this, that it may change, that it may sort of open out into something else. Is that what you're actually saying?
It's certainly part of what I'm saying, yes. Yeah. Without, you can't force faith, but you can kind of, it's a bit like what I was saying the other day, you can try something out. You can have enough faith, not that, oh, I'm sure this is going to work and I'll just keep going, but you can have enough faith to think, well, people that I respect or care about or believe in from the tradition, they say that it's like this. It's all right, I'll try, and I'll give it a real try, not just sort of tentatively, sort of a little try. I'll go and put my full weight on the next step and see how that is. And then I'll put my full weight on the next step. And I'll give it a really good go. And if I feel like I've really, really, really given it such a go, and it's just become clear that that's wrong, all right, then we know. But you just really take one step after another, with giving your full and putting your full energy behind a provisional faith.
Yeah.
See what I mean? Which isn't something we usually do. If we feel provisional about something, we just we just try it a little bit, which usually means we never quite discover. Yeah?
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Any more?
Yes, Vessantara, does this come down to using a conceptual mind as a means to an end, to gain entry into the non-conceptual or empty mind, where this imagination actually dwells, in a sense?
Well, as I was saying, I think for most of us, we need a kind of two-pronged approach. We need to open to exploring experiences that aren't just conceptual, or that even don't make much sense conceptually. And we need to look at our concepts and see whether or not they're concepts. We need to explore, it's like all the things that we take for granted about life and ourselves, we need to explore, is the idea that, there's a me at the center of experience, is that just an idea, or can I find a me at the center of experience? So we really explore that sense that there's a separation, between inner and outer. Is that real? Is that a concept? Is that something I'm putting onto my experience? Is it how it is? So I think a combination of moving into new territory, exploring imaginative territory, exploring other realms of experience, and getting clear about what is just a helpful description of life, and what is how life actually is. Those two. I think for most people tend to like one or the other more. Some people are very happy kind of doing sadhana, but they don't really like all that sort of more sort of insight kind of looking at concept stuff. And some people really like the looking into concepts and looking at the nature of things in that way. But they feel some of their sadhana stuff that might be more for faith types. It's not for them. We don't need to limit ourselves in that way. Most of us need something of both. Does that help at all?
I think when it becomes real, in a sense, real, we get an aha moment. Something happens that's different, and we're almost catapulted into it, so to speak.
Yeah, if you have experiences of insight, either something that you kind of saw more on a conceptual level sort of drops down, and it's like, you thought you knew, but now you really know. Or you can have an aha moment which completely goes against how you were seeing the world, but it's just, it doesn't compute rationally, but you just know that's how it is. Prajna does go beyond rational mind. That sort of direct intuitive faculty knows things much faster, more directly than the rational mind process. All right, let's draw a line under that there, and let's do some meditation. But this kind of discussion is important because it underpins what we're doing with practices like Tonglen or sadhana or mandala offering. We have to have the confidence that they're worthwhile and fulfilling. And there may be views that we have about life which are undermining that confidence. And then we need to get into dialogue with that and get ourselves clear. Otherwise, we're doing sort of half-hearted practice, and life is too short for that. Okay. So aware of whatever's going on. Now taking awareness down to the ground. Feeling the actual points of connection with the earth. And as we're feeling these sensations of warmth and pressure, just notice whether we're actually feeling the ground. Are we feeling the ground or our skin? Or some kind of experience produced by both of those? What's going on? Now let's let that question go. Letting awareness and energy go down into the earth. From there, letting the body rise up. And bringing awareness into the body. Relaxing into the sensations. Noticing whether we have a kind of mental map of something called the body that we're locating all the sensations in. letting the whole body be a field of awareness in which the sensations come and go. A kindly, caring awareness. Let's see if we can imagine this kindly, caring awareness as light, filling the body. Letting this light of loving awareness become brighter, more radiant. So the body is more like a body of light, almost weightless. There's a sense of space all around. No limitations. Maybe blue sky. And just for a minute or so, aware of all of us meditating together. All these radiant beings. And now, when we're ready, we can let the meditation come to an end. keeping the awareness and that kindness. And if you'd like, just noticing, coming back very gently. We'd say we'd been in the world of imagination and we were coming back into the physical body. So how does that happen? Is there a point where we cross over from one to the other? Are they separate? Let's just do it very gently and explore our experience. Just sitting, just experiencing everything as it is. Sharing the merits of exploring our experience in this way with all beings. we'd had a little longer, it would be interesting to repeat that process. So moving between what we think of as the physical and what we think of as the imaginal, and back and forth, seeing what's different, what changes, just exploring that. Anyway, that's all we have time for today. And tomorrow we'll probably go a bit further into the mandala offering. And we'll see where things go from there. Okay, very good to see you all. And yeah, have a very good time until tomorrow. Or later today, if that's what it is for you. Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you, Vessantara.
Thank you, and bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vessantara. Bye.
Night, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good night and thank you. Or good day.